I know your game, yo.
Are we rolling?
No, hold on, we ain't ready. Have you seen the intro to yesterday's People's Power?
Yes.
Nico's like, he's just taking a piss with everything. By the way, do you like my China?
I can't see it.
Can you not?
No.
Can you actually see it in the camera?
Oh, the top of your eye, I can see it now.
You know what that's from?
Yeah, sticker.
Oh, you heard that? Oh, you probably saw my tweet.
You can't really see it on the camera.
Should I explain it or not?
Nah. All right, we're ready to go.
Let's do it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Planet SkyFF, the world where everything revolves around £50,000. My name's Suj.
And my name is James. Are you ready?
For what?
For Sky Fantasy Football.
Wait, I haven't looked at my team since last week, so no is the honest answer. I probably won't do it till Friday afternoon or something like that.
All right, don't, guys listening, watching, don't do what he does, right?
Why?
Get your shit
Why?
into place.
Who's your goalkeeper?
I don't know yet.
Okay. So after all that shit, the first question I ask you, you don't even know the answer to. So, and I bet you, how have you been planning your draft? Have you?
Oh yeah, no. When you
I bet 8 of them are the same as mine anyway, because everyone's going to have the same players. So
I'm really peeved.
what he's saying is, spend hours and hours on it, and then when you get to Friday and you've got like 2 hours to make a decision, just do the same as everyone else anyway, because we're all going to go on like ownership.
It's not a bad strategy in Sky Fantasy Football, but don't go on ownership at the moment. Like, you know, people say, how many of the Sky Fantasy players are actually engaged? Well, let me tell you that right now, at the time of recording, which is Tuesday morning, Lewis Dunk's ownership is 19%.
Yeah.
And not everybody will choose to go with him, so I presume that the engaged community of Sky Fantasy players from the database of Sky players who have signed up for a team is around about 20%.
Yeah, same for FPL. I think FPL percentage is probably smaller because of a bigger number of players. But if you said to me 20% of Sky players are engaged, I'd say probably. And the rest are just casuals trying to chance 50 grand.
Lewis Dunk, for clarity, did play against Rayo Vallecano at the weekend. Played about an hour. So, and to be honest, I would have gone with him as long as it was he's available to play.
Sure.
I didn't even. He's one I wasn't even. I've discussed this with Sam on Saturday's Correspondent Week pod. I wasn't even bothered if he'd got minutes or not. It was just, are you fit? Fine, you're going in.
Yep.
So the fact he's got minutes, positive. I might even captain him Saturday.
Cool.
So where are you at? What do you want to know, or do you want me to go first?
I'm no different to last week, but then nothing's changed from last week. So Alisson, Trent, Dunk, Colwill, Saliba are locked. I don't see any reason to want to change any of them. Mitoma, Rashford, Haaland are locked. I had Gibbs White. He was pretty much set. The 2 players that were like iffy for me was Enzo Fernandez, because I had Colwill and I didn't need him. And obviously Jesus he's got injured. So I've just moved into Ollie Watkins, next striker, whatever.
Diogo Jota's sitting there. That's an interesting one.
The reason he's sitting there is because literally 2 seconds before we started recording, after I took out Enzo Fernandez and put in instead Ollie Watkins, I looked at what I could afford, which was 9.1, and guess who was top of that list?
Diogo Jota. Okay.
I just put him in. But I don't have any Liverpool attack. So it's not the worst, stupidest strategy if I want to cover off Liverpool attack. But I just chucked him in for there. I'd say other than Mitoma and Jota, for one of a better placeholder, all the others I probably will just go with. I need Gibbs White, don't I, for captaincy?
You don't need Gibbs White. It's interesting looking at the Forest-Sheffield United ownership at the moment, that it's quite low across the board. Gibbs White ownership is 5%. But I think if we consider that we said Lewis Dunk 20%, that would therefore tell me that probably about 25% of the engaged players currently are deciding to go with Morgan Gibbs White. And I think he'll be the most popular call on the Friday. And I also think it will come round and a lot of people will buy on the Friday night because it's quite early in the season and stuff. So if you want a Forest-Sheffield United player, the advice would be start with it. I know a lot of people would like to go with a Sheffield United player because of deeming the fixtures being better, i.e. Sheffield United start with Palace rather than Forest go to Arsenal. And I completely understand that sentiment. They are on the floor at the moment. They've lost their best player, and by the time the weekend comes around, they might have lost their second best player. They've got injuries galore as well. And there's no signs of incomings new on top of the little bits they've already done.
I was surprised that a lot of people have Sheffield United bottom and Luton second from bottom.
Not what we've learnt the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
Luton's
exactly.
style is going to be difficult for teams. It's going to be
I
unusual.
still had Luton down bottom, but I'm seeing more and more people saying Sheffield United bottom and Luton second from bottom. And then Wolves obviously is as the other favourite. Interestingly, I'm probably more bullish on Wolves than I am when Lopetegui was in charge. If they get Gary O'Neill.
I'm not. Because I think Lopetegui is a very good manager.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, but there's managers for circumstances as well. You could argue the case that you can't argue that Conte isn't a good manager. He is a good manager, but it didn't work at Spurs, right?
Wrong person, wrong time.
Wolves now need to hunker down and work with what they've got and just be dogged and difficult to beat. I'm not sure they've
got the players for that. We've got too many players who think they're footballers. We do have good footballers. Anyway,
they haven't got a bad goalkeeper. Anyway,
there's no point talking about Wolves on the Sky podcast other than who we're captaining from Manchester United on Monday night.
The question started from Forest-Sheffield United, and obviously they're down at the bottom. I agree with Sheffield United's fixtures are better, but I'm only going to own Gibbs White for maybe 2 games, and he's going to be gone anyway.
Look, for me on Gibbs White, and the reason I'm going to go with him, unless there's an injury down in the next 48 hours, I think it's probably Gibbs White or Johnson. There's a big doubt about Awoniyi, so that's not a punt at the moment. Johnson might not be a Nottingham Forest player by the time that comes around. So, to be honest, really straightforward for me. He's a penalty taker. He's capable of shot tiers in games that Forest do all right in. We can see data of that last year. It's not regular. I wouldn't expect it. But he's the most likely scorer in that team for me. And they'll be playing at home to what might be the worst team in the league this year. So if I was going in on the day, if someone says to me, right, next Friday, James, you pick any of the 22 players, see the team, who do you want to captain? Morgan Gibbs White.
The other thing is, when you look further afield, the single game day with Burnley and the single game day with Brentford that are in September, October, if you said to me now, you got to pick a player now and keep them all the way till September, October, assuming that obviously injury can screw that up. But say they were going to stay fit for the entire period and I had to own them for 6 games, 7 games, I'd say Gibbs White. I'd rather just stick with Gibbs White for 7 games, even though there's some difficult games in there. Because I know he'll play every single game. And if I don't need to move him on after the Sheffield United game and he can just tick along all the way till I need him again for captaincies, that's my plan. Whereas if I pick another player, I don't know if I'd feel as confident holding for that length of time.
So what we did when we last did the Sky Pod 2 weeks ago, I spoke about the idea of actually just going to Nakamba on the Friday night when Luton play West Ham, or even the Friday night when Luton play Chelsea. But I think if you were going to do that, you'd probably wait till the actual night, make sure he's in the team for the West Ham game.
There's a blank before that, so
I've gone colder on that, but the reason I've gone colder on that is just purely starting with Nakamba allows a lot more in the actual starting team if I'm going to end up going there in the first place. I'm now looking at using Gibbs White as a second Chelsea choice or alternatives. So I've got Levi Colwill at the moment as the 1 Chelsea, and at the moment, not that I particularly like it, I'm probably 4-5-1 as it stands. My idea with Gibbs White at the moment would be to make a decision on the second Chelsea player between Enzo Fernandez and Nicholas Jackson. Jackson's only 8.2, and with Nkunku out now. My real concern with Jackson...
And to go in straight after the Friday night Luton-West Ham game.
Yeah, so you buy on when Chelsea play West Ham on a Sunday. And that gives me secondary coverage for Chelsea's single...
From your Forest player, not from your Luton player.
That gives me secondary captaincy for the single game day against Luton. And it's not impossible that the Bournemouth game on Sunday the 17th, the day before Forest come into their next single game day, could also be a captaincy.
So if you've got Nakamba and Gibbs White, you must have some money in the bank.
So 0.6 to allow me a little bit of flexibility there. Yeah.
Okay.
Between either. So that could take me up to 8.5. Enzo's 8.4 and Jackson's 8.2. So that's I'm really close to knowing what I want now with this. So
should we go back to front?
As in my draft?
Yeah, well, both of ours.
We did yours.
Oh yeah.
Have you updated it now? Oh, I can see Nakamba.
I put Nakamba in just to see how much money it saves me. 2.5 million in the bank is too much, right? To be leaving.
Not if you know your plans. For example, I'm sure it will come up in the questions, but you know, if that manoeuvres you Harry Kane once you're sure that Harry Kane's staying, is a possibility.
That'll be 1st of
or
September.
Or contingency for inches. No, look, fuck it, let's do Kane now because I know a lot of people want to know. So with Kane, I think my advice would be don't start with him. in Sky. I agree with what a lot of people I think are thinking. I agree the same. If Kane is at Tottenham on Sunday, probably is the best captaincy on Sunday. I agree with that. And it's also awkward in terms of trying to get him in because Tottenham's games are on Saturdays until they go to the Emirates on Sunday the 24th of September. And that's not when you want to buy it. If you want to get him, you want to get him in, I think, for latest Saturday the 26th. Part of my idea at the moment is to possibly manipulate it where I ended up going, if I can't decide between Enzo Fernandez and Nicholas Jackson on that Sunday, maybe go both. Mm-hmm. And that might be withdrawing another premium player that then allows me to get Kane in on the Saturday after Chelsea play Luton. That's the thinking. If Kane plays for Tottenham on Sunday, all the noise at the moment is that that's it. He'll stay and he'll play for Tottenham this season. But I really don't think it's impossible that on Friday there's no deal done, and then on the Saturday, the day before the game, it's deals agreed and he's going.
Okay.
There's every expectation that by the time Friday comes around, we will probably know. And if something happens between now and Friday deadline where I can say I'm 100% sure that Harry Kane's going to play on Sunday, I will also start with Harry Kane.
Okay.
I've got the direct money there now with Mo Salah's in the team.
Right.
What I was really conscious with Sunday is, and I do think Kane is a slightly better choice than Salah if he stays. But the more I looked at that with the Chelsea-Liverpool games, looking at my comfortable captain Trent or Colwill or Enzo Fernandez or Alisson I had in at one point, was I really comfortable with any of them, knowing that Salah and Kane will have plenty of, those who start Kane in their team will definitely know for sure on Sunday if he's in the team or not, because it's the opening kickoff. They're going to captain him. There'll be loads of others go Salah. I think on day 3 of the competition, do I want to go against that? Paul McNulty won the game last year, and plenty of others will tell you can't win Sky at the start. You can lose it. Mm-hmm. So, look, obviously it's a coin flip in the sense I could go Salah and Kane goes mental, right? And then, okay, potential problem.
Trent goes mental, mate.
Yeah, it could be. But to be honest, I just don't foresee it in that fixture, to tell you the truth. Salah, big games, is still capable of the whole. Their fixture's not so important for him. Remember, 2 goals for Mo's 12 points, right? Plus, then you're hitting the shots here. Then you've got the appearance points. It's not that difficult for him to hit, say, a 16 in almost any game, right? So that's the nice fallback option, is to captain Mo. So I don't want to be against that. In the same way, I don't want to be against Marcus Rashford on Monday. I don't recommend that anybody goes against Haaland on Friday night if he's in the team. And then Saturday, for me, there will be more of a split between Brighton assets and Arsenal assets primarily. And I'll probably lean more to Saliba over Dunk at the moment, just purely on I know what I'm going to get from Nottingham Forest, whereas I'm not quite so sure with Luton. And I also have a little bit more trusted in Arsenal in terms of the clean sheet. And Dunk's ownership is not as high as I thought it would be. And there'll be plenty of combinations in terms of Arsenal ownership, whether it's Ramsdale, who I still think will play in goal, or Gabriel, or alternatives as well. Whereas I think most Brighton will just be on Dunk. So there's probably more defensive ownership for Arsenal out there across the board, I would have thought.
Did you say you went Gabriel over Saliba?
No, Saliba.
Yeah, so
saved the money.
3 of yours are the same as mine. Dunk, Saliba, Colwill.
Yeah.
And I've gone Trent and you've gone Stones?
John Stones,
Diaz?
yeah. No, John Stones. At the moment, yeah. I'm conscious that the tiers might not be there in the sense that if he's going to get moved into offensive positions like he did in the Champions League final, then it's probably a no-no. If he's going to go in alongside Rodri, then I think he gets towards near Rodri numbers and it's not so much of a problem. Obviously, if he plays like he did in the Community Shield, which won't be often, he just sits at centre-back, he's also obviously very capable of hitting them.
Past his, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, sorry. So, yeah, there's a little bit more risk in John Stones than, say, Diaz, as an example. But I also think Gvardiol might, I don't think he will, but Gvardiol might offer a threat to Diaz. I'm conscious of that. John Stones might get binned out of this if Ortega's in the team Friday night, which seems to be a rumour that's growing. He's 6'6". And if we all see that on Friday night, I think it's a little bit like the Saliba one last year. I don't want to be on the wrong side of that again. Saliba was in the team against Crystal Palace opening night last year, and I ignored it. I chose to ignore it because will he stay in the team and stuff? And it's like he did. What if Ortega's in the team Friday night, does he then sit his new number 1? There's been speculation this week that Guardiola wanted to change it at the end of last season because he was sick of Ederson not saving anything.
I'm shocked.
But he didn't want to because the games were so important and so big. He didn't want to piss around with it.
Agreed.
But then you look back to the fact Ortega just randomly played against West Ham. Then he came back out again, though. So I don't know. I would still expect Ederson to play personally. But if we get to Friday night and Ortega's in the team, he's going in.
Okay.
And
who's your keeper now?
It's the position I'm least convinced on. At the moment, I've got Emi Martinez.
I've got Alisson, and I've stuck with Alisson, and I probably will stick with Alisson.
The need for me on Alisson, obviously, I'm going with Mo Salah, is less in terms of coverage for Liverpool, which I don't think you have to, as discussed on the need versus wants, I don't think you have to have a Liverpool player. The reason for Martinez is I'm really keen on Ollie Watkins, and it might be that it just doesn't come round for me, and I let it go. And become comfortable with captain a Chelsea player against West Ham on the second Sunday. But I look at Martinez at home to Everton and think, yeah, that's all right as well. If you're captain a goalkeeper in a game in this, there's certain teams you think at home it looks like a good one. And Everton's always one of them you think, particularly if, say, Calvert-Lewin wasn't fit, you'd look at that and think, I fancy Villa for a clean sheet. And obviously for Martinez, it's 9 for the clean sheet with the appearance points. And of course, he is a goalkeeper that is very capable to save tears as well. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't necessarily take a lot for him to be hitting the 11. So Martinez is the one favoured at the moment. Flecken is a possibility as well, but then that would rule out Gibbs-White to... no, it doesn't because he's cheaper. It does still allow Gibbs-White to Fernandes. Martinez was kind of at the top end that I could do and still allow Gibbs-White to Fernandes if that's the choice on where to mount the second weekend. And like I said, it gives me alternative for that Sunday. Say West Ham do really well against Bournemouth and I think I'm a bit more nervous about this. Martinez at home to Everton offers me a different captaincy alternative to Watkins, who I did really want to go with. So it's Martinez at the moment. That could really change. I quite like Fleckham. He's had a lot of stick in pre-season, but I think it's a very reasonable price. But yeah, look, I'll be very honest with you. If Ortega's in the team, I'll be going with Ortega and I'll chance it. And I might even just leave it and start with Forest City. And then if it turns out Ederson goes back in goal, fine, fix it.
Yeah, you mentioned West Ham briefly there. Edson Alvarez joining, we think, in the next 24 hours. He might be signing paperwork today or what have you. Anything, and all the research I've done on him from Ajax...
it could be a tackle.
He's a tackle monster. Yeah, he isn't going to be able to do what Declan Rice can do maybe on the ball and driving forward as much, but in terms of side to side and just nicking the ball and tackle. I'm really interested to see if he comes in less than 7.5, maybe. If he can come in at like 7.2 or something like that. If he could be this year's Palhinha, he won't be as cheap as Palhinha, I don't think.
But what's the chance of him starting opening day against Bournemouth?
Opening day, none.
So you're not starting with it.
But if we got to the Luton game on a Monday night and he's settled in and you think actually he's a longer term enabler, maybe he's one you want to hold.
I think if you want a West Ham player for that Friday night against Luton specifically, then you don't have to start because obviously you've got that Chelsea game as the entry point. He's got to play by the Chelsea game, Suj.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think he will.
You've got 3-for-1 over the majority of the league then. So that's your point. If you don't start with a West Ham player and you want a West Ham player for that Friday night's Luton captaincy, it's buy on the Sunday the 20th. I mean, I'm conscious, for example, that Gibbs-White to Ben Rama might be the decision that I make when I get there, for example.
What do you think he will come in at? It's a difficult one.
I would think 7.5-ish probably.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's a price tag coming with it, right? And the difference with him versus, say, Bissouma, who's another Tottenham player I should probably talk about, is Bissouma is going to be capable of the passes and the tackles, whereas Alvarez is just the tackles. Yeah, Bissouma could be both. Will Bissouma start on Sunday? This is a regular one I'm getting as well. I think so, is all I can say to that. I don't understand why he didn't start against Shakhtar Donetsk on Sunday. I obviously watched the game in Barcelona last night where Tottenham fielded largely a second-string team. Bissouma was outstanding. He was so far clear of Højbjerg in that position for me, and I think every single Tottenham fan would agree with that. But I can't quite work out why he didn't start on Sunday. Is it so that Bissouma enabled this team to have a solid base that it could play around in the game? I'm not sure. They played excellent last night, as we'll talk about on Tottenham, Suj. And he's great. Even though he plays as the 6, let me promise you, he will go and press and win the ball back. So Bissouma, I think, I think he genuinely could be outstanding in this at 7.3. But it's not one right now that I think I'm prepared to risk right at the start. He did also come off with a couple of minutes to go. I think it was fatigue related, but it's not helpful.
What's your midfield at the moment? I know Rashford's going to be in. I know Nakamba's going to be in. I know Gibbs-White is going to be in. I feel like Saka's going to be in because you want an attacking Arsenal player.
I do want one.
Oh, you haven't got one?
No.
So who are your other two midfielders then in your 4-5-1?
So Rashford in for the Monday night.
Yeah.
Salah's in now, which Nakamba really enables. Gibbs White, obviously, and Rodri, the safe house for the last one. I really want to go Phil Foden, and I won't promise that if Phil Foden is in the team, he's 0.1 more, that would still allow me to Gibbs White to Enzo. If Foden's in the team Friday night, I might do it. But I think we just know Rodri's safe as hell in this, isn't he? If I could have afforded to get up from Rodri to one of the Arsenal guys, i.e. primarily Saka, I would do it. I would definitely do it. But I think in relation to that, it probably comes down to an argument at the moment where I think because of Haaland, Rashford, let's say Rashford, Salah, Saka, feels quite difficult to all fit in at the moment. It almost feels like it's got to be 2 plus 1 defensive one. So I think we begin to see quite a bit of Onana, Saka and Salah as a combination. And I think that's perfectly fine, by the way. For me, between the defensive ones, the most reliable one, based on the fixtures, is Arsenal. And the potential for the passing tiers. Is Arsenal above the other two, in my opinion, in terms of reliability? Yeah, do I think that Liverpool players hit passing tier at Chelsea in 1? No. Do I think they hit it at Newcastle in 3? No. Villa in 4? Doubtful. Look at them Arsenal ones at the start. Forest, even the trips to like Palace and Everton, you're like, these are passing tier games. So I think for me, from that, my choice personally is that I'd rather have the Arsenal defensive one than the others. And also, from a captaincy perspective, I think Rashford for me would be a better captaincy most games than Onana, as an example. Salah, with the opening fixtures, I think better than Trent. And I think there's too much unpredictability with Trent. I think, look, he could be an absolute monster, but I'm not overly convinced about it at the moment, to be totally honest. I'm not sure those attacking returns are going to be there in the way that people think. I think he's quite rightly the most priced defender in the game, but do I want to go there? I don't think I'll be going with Trent personally. So Arsenal's the one, which I think in some of them fixtures anyway, so I'd be looking at, if I had Saliba and Saka, I'd almost then be debating that out. Which one do I stick the armband on? Mm-hmm. The others are clearer. Like I'd go Salah, I'd go Rashford. With the Arsenal one, I keep thinking I'd still debate Saliba versus Saka for some of them fixtures. So I think Saliba's going to be, the Arsenal defensive one's going to be the choice for me. Rodri is just a great, solid pick, isn't he? He's not a definite. I think the other four probably are now. And Nakamba, although I wasn't massively keen on it because the second fixture's missing. So the fact he's got the captaincy almost cancels itself out because the second game's missing. I can't help but think he's the best enabler in the game. Just get him in. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, that's what now allows me to put Salah in when it wasn't really working for me. And having Salah causes ripple effects, plug, where you can move that straight to Harry Kane as an example, right?
Yep.
So I want that in, and the beast is up front. I don't like starting with 4-5-1, by the way.
No, me neither. That's why I've been trying to fit a 4-4-2 in just for flexibility.
I am conscious of that. And a perfect example of that would be Gibbs White. As said, at the moment, there's kind of open choices. It's open choices for 18 teams, by the way. I might decide, well, I don't want any Chelsea or West Ham on that second Sunday. I could go to Bissouma when Tottenham play Manchester United, for example, if I feel right. Yeah, Sugar, he's definitely going to play. So I can go Gibbs White to Enzo Fernandez or Nicholas Jackson, but I can't go to Thiago Silva or Ben Chilwell, who both would be affordable, but I can't get there because I can't go 5-4-1. And that's a limitation of that system. 4-4-2, in terms of the starting one, is the best to allow you to move. And most of us will make mistakes here. I'm trying not to. I've tried to go with what I think is secure as possible, basically. A good trick is almost always to work yourself backwards as well and almost remove the fixtures in your mind and just say, right, if I'm picking the best possible Sky Fantasy team right now, what does it look like? Who goes in it, and then work backwards from there. Okay, I need the Arsenal player for the Palace game. I need to start with a Manchester United player for Monday night, and you work backwards from there. So you're always consciously moving and manoeuvring around what you think the best team is, and obviously that will change during the course of the season. I don't think I'm miles off it, Suj.
Okay.
So I'm pretty content at the moment. I like the fact that you can't have everyone. The most likely thing for me to change, I guess, is Salah to Kane, maybe. If I deem that it's safe. Because I would like to go with Harry. In that case, I'd captain him. And then he is in place for those brilliant 3 fixtures, Bournemouth, Burnley, Sheffield United. But like I said, if I become confident, my idea is probably to flip a couple of players into Chelsea, go free Chelsea for that really strong period they've got, which starts, does arguably start with the West Ham game, where afterwards from there you've got Luton, Forest both at home, Bournemouth away, which is a Sunday and is captainable, Villa at home, Fulham away, another single game day, Burnley away. It's a great run of fixtures. If that Burnley game is on the Friday or Saturday as well, at the start of October, then that's even more reason to go. And that's not unthinkable, by the way, that Burnley-Chelsea could be the Friday night. There's 4 games that could be on that Friday night at the moment, and that's one of them. That would be absolute gold. And then, I think I probably would go free Chelsea for that stretch and know, right, from there, come off 2 of them straight into. But obviously one of them would be led into to get Kane in. So it would still just be 2. But I'd go 3 for the West Ham Luton games. That's what I've got in my mind if I want to get Harry in.
Captaincy we just covered off. We talked about, obviously, Haaland being quite straightforward for Friday, Rashford for the Monday, Salah or Kane if you own on the Sunday. Sorry, but obviously if you don't, then Trent or whoever else you have. I'll be going at Arsenal attacking player on the Saturday in Saka if I own him, and if not, Saliba's always there as a backup. Dunk is always there as a backup. So I don't think there's too much to cover off in terms of captaincy. Do you want to get in some of these questions we've had in on Twitter?
Yes.
Or X or whatever.
Yes, let's do that because that will create plenty.
You mentioned the ripple effect. We may as well plug it. Go to Spotify and search the ripple effect and then listen to the podcast that's on there with James Alcott this morning because you and I were guests on it.
One more thing before you do questions, because I've meant to do this on every single Sky Fantasy Football podcast since we returned.
Mini League?
Yes. Those who've been on YouTube can probably already see it, but I keep getting asked cash leagues and stuff.
Cash money.
It's on the screen if you're on YouTube. It'll be in the bio as well if you're on the audio. There's 20, 10, 5, £2 leagues if you want to join in. You can join all of them, one of them, whatever you want. There's a free to enter league as well for those who obviously don't want to spend their money. Please gamble responsibly.
Cool. Check them out. Let's get into some of these Twitter questions. And like I said, do head over and listen to James and I. There's also an FPL one coming out on Friday. So if you follow it on Spotify, then you'll get notified when that goes out as well. Yeah, funny how we talked about Lopetegui yesterday, not making it to the end of August. Fucking didn't make it to the end of the day, did he?
Didn't make it to the podcast was posted.
Unbelievable. Some of these questions we have covered off. Andy, Mr. Let's Talk FPL. Is Colwill worth risking? We're both going with him, so that probably answers that.
I've got no doubt in my mind, to
Agreed.
be totally honest. It's the current situation, in my opinion, is Badiashile was targeting game week 3, which would be the Luton fixture. But if Colwill does well in the first 2, what's the reason to force him in? And then with the fixtures afterwards, there feels like a real easing in point. Disasai has been bought, is probably more going to be cover for Thiago Silva as the right-sided centre-back. So Colwill will be in competition with Badiashile. But to me, it just feels too much like that Saliba one last year, where it was like, I'm concerned when Tomiyasu's fit, White will go back in at centre-back and things like that. And it was like weeks on end just watching everybody else rack up the Saliba points, and I'm not there. And to be honest, with Chelsea's fixtures, that really could be the case. And he's captainable, particularly things like Luton at home. You look at that and you think, yep, Parsons here, clean sheet, 20 points, let's move on, thank you very much. So, yeah, I would be far happier going, okay, we got this wrong, I need to move that to Bissouma or something else at a similar value, than thinking, shit, I need to force him in. So for me, he's a definite for me.
Starting with Nakamba or Fabi, worth it, or do we deal with that captaincy later or skip it? All 3 are options,
yes,
to be honest with you. So I don't think there's a right or wrong with that one. Play it your way. My strategy is to look at it further down, but may start with Nakamba because I do agree with what you're saying. Just chuck it in there because it enables.
I just think if Luton didn't have the single game day against West Ham, right now I'd be sitting here saying that's the one. Every year, look at last year, Paulinia, the one before, Christian Norgard. Teams promoted, undervalued, good tacklers, brilliant enablers in this game. The Canberra is the standout from those 3 promoted teams by a distance. in terms of his output. And obviously, he's not like a new player to the team. He played for them second half of last season. He's absolutely definitely going to play as far as we're concerned. So he's in for me. Like I said, it's that chain of, is Nakamba the right one? Listen, if it gets 10 points against West Ham, brilliant. If it gets 4 points, then whatever. It's now enabling me to have a better captain on Sunday as well. So what's the knock-on of going with the cheapest guy? You should always have a consciousness that if you go for the cheapest one, as roughly as he is, where you're going to go. Someone like Pape Sarr at Tottenham is 6.5. At the moment, I think he's going to start on Sunday. That's only a think. Please don't start with him either. Would be my advice. But it might be that the transfer window closed and Sarr looks like he's going to play every week for Tottenham, 6.5. Tell you what, he'll break into the box. You'll get the odd return. You'll get the odd tackle tier as well. So there's places to go from it as well. By that point, might even have a defender at a similar price as, say, Burnley a start well with tough fixtures, and then they're coming into a better run. Okay, it's a Burnley defender, for example, maybe. So I think there's places to go even.
Do you have any problem with people skipping Forest-Sheffield United?
No, not at all. Not at all. I think because it's so early, I think it's ideal to start with one. But if, for example, putting Gibbs White in the team means the difference between you having the player that you really want longer term and not, then skip it would be my case. But I just think roughly, I think probably a quarter or so are going to go with him. I think he's the best choice. It's a possibility. If he did well, then he's definitely worth it. I'll be starting with him. To be honest, it's so early, I've not debated going against, but they are two teams that generally we're not going to be massively interested in. I also think as well, it gives you the extra game as an example to have a look at Chelsea. You can go in, you can have the 4 brilliant Chelsea fixtures against West Ham, Luton, Forest, Bournemouth, where there's 1, maybe even as many as 3 captaincy options. I don't include Nottingham Forest one because Erling Haaland's playing that day. But it could be effective like 7 for 2 with 3 captaincies. And then Nottingham Forest come into that Monday night game against Burnley and go back to it if you want to.
A lot of, a few people have mentioned thoughts around Declan Rice maybe in midfield. He's 8.1 million. I'm not keen on starting with it.
Not if he played where he played on Sunday, and we don't know if he will. But if he played where he played on Sunday, then there's no passes.
No tier points, no tackles, no passes. Kind of playing deeper might add the tackles.
He's always one in a random game. He could pick up tackles and stuff, right?
Yep.
But I think for that, you'll probably get more guarantees for 0.3 more in like an Enzo Fernandez, who will also give you captaincy coverage and that. So, no, Declan Rice, not in my thoughts.
Jimmy Kay and Dan Kerwin have mentioned the same player, Lisandro Martinez, as an alternative United captain option. Jimmy just wants to know if he's a decent alternative to Rashford because the saving helps his squad. Dan's posed it in a different way. Trent and Rashford versus Salah and Martinez. I didn't know he was fit, if I'm honest with you. So
who?
Martinez.
Yeah, of course he is.
He's back and ready to go.
Yeah. He wouldn't have been a million miles off the FA Cup final, to be totally honest. I think with that one, 8.5 was Onana, 7.3. I think as well.
Excuse me.
Bless you, Suj. I swear it's always a Sky pod.
It's every pod.
And normally when we're talking about Arsenal, which we just jumped, I think when I look at United defensively, I don't feel that guarantee. I could look at, if Arsenal were playing Wolves this weekend, I think, Saliba.
Off the passing tier or the clean sheet?
Yeah,
the passing tier.
Saliba, Gabriel are hitting that. Listen, you can't guarantee a clean sheet, right? But I think that one specifically, where your captaincy is going to be for Manchester United, is going to be that first one, Wolves. And we know they're blunt, right? Scored 1 more goal than Harry Kane last year. So just think Onana will get the extra 2 for the clean sheet, which cancels out almost the passing tier in a way. And you're making a saving of 1.2 to use somewhere else. And there's really good defensive options such as Dunk, Colwill, Arsenal, City, other options as well. So I'd prefer Onana if you're looking down there. I think going Onana is perfectly reasonable. Perfectly reasonable. We look ahead at other United games from a captaincy perspective. And this is where Rashford might even become expendable. Because Nottingham Forest at home Saturday 26th, maybe yes. Kane goes to Bournemouth if he's still with Tottenham. Arsenal have Fulham at home. So there's certainly alternatives. And then beyond that, doesn't come round for United captaincy again. I think really for a good while, not till as far as we can see the October fixtures, which by the way probably likely to be the back end of next week is the most likely for the October TV fixtures, which is another added point to even maybe thinking sort of Gibbs White to that extra Chelsea player. By the time it comes round, I might know where that exit point is. Is it going to be, say, for example, the Chelsea-Burnley game or, say, Friday the 6th or Saturday the 7th of October?
I've had a question in around Kamara, Aston Villa. Is he a better enabler than Nakamba?
No, and the reason...
One difference between them.
The reason I don't think why is I don't think it's a certainty. They've got... They could use, particularly in a fixture like the Everton game, they could just go like Douglas Luiz and Tielemans down. Or even drop John McGinn deeper, for example. Yep. So, for me, a no, because he's for that little. He's playing for a better team than Luton. It's irrelevant when you're looking for tackle tiers. I think he's first choice. I think he's the one player in the squad who is the out and out kind of holding sitting midfield player, and I do think he will play a lot, and I do think he will start at Newcastle. But I'd be very conscious of things like that. Like the Everton game, when you may want to use him for a captaincy, for example, that I'd be conscious that it could easily be Tielemans and Luiz as an example. Whereas Nakamba, I just can't really see the debate at the moment. So, yeah, I like him as an option. He was one we did like last year, and he had a run of about 3 games in a row where he had tackle tiers and stuff. He's capable. They're also going to have more of the ball now as well. I don't know if that might have a more negative impact, because those good little bits with tackle tiers actually was under Gerrard as well, so...
Cool.
I don't know if that'll have an impact or not.
Last question of the show, James, is one that I've picked from a few people who have asked questions around. So I'll ask it philosophically rather than specifically. Game week 1, match week 1 transfers. I've had a few people talking about Salah to Rashford for the Monday night, or Haaland to Kane from the Friday to the Sunday. Then you get extra fixtures of Kane. If you consider that City will miss a game, won't they, because of the...
Yeah, I can see the Haaland to Kane idea purely because when Tottenham kick off on Sunday, you'll have the information, right? If Harry Kane's in the team or not. So you could make that move, Haaland to Kane, and I completely get the thinking of it. The thinking would be, right, you've got Kane for Brentford away, Man United at home, Bournemouth away. You miss Haaland against Newcastle.
It was a 4-for-1 because you captain Kane and so on.
Which particularly if you do have a Liverpool alternative such as Mo Salah or Trent, you probably do feel like you can take that on. And then Haaland plays Sheffield United on the Sunday and you go back. Right, that's well and good, but do you want to go back when Kane's next fixtures are Burnley away and Sheffield United at home? Mm-hmm. Don't leave yourself in a position without Haaland at the moment would be my take massively. Like, I wouldn't even want to be in a position where on Saturday 19th I was sitting there going, I haven't got him, it's fine. I'm going to captain Mo Salah. Like, make that decision this time next week or a little bit later on rather than thinking, and I just think he's way early in the season. What does Haaland have to do on the Friday night to even justify having him for the one game and then selling him? What's he got to get?
It's frustrating because if you knew Kane was going to play on Sunday, you'd maybe consider just scrapping Haaland.
No, I wouldn't.
And go with Kane and then go to Haaland further down. No, if you were hooked on a no Haaland strategy.
Right. Haaland is the only player in the game right now who has absolutely massive ownership. Haaland is in 78% of teams. Mo Salah and the likes around that, sort of 27 to 30% is the next most you're going to find, right? I do not want to be playing around with Erling Haaland at the start. For me, that's a non-negotiable. And even to that point, looking at it right now and going, sure, Salah be a good differential for you on Saturday 19th, Bournemouth at home. But Haaland at home to Newcastle would really, really hurt me. And again, it comes back around and says, you know, you can lose the game at the start. Can't win it, but you can lose it. And I just think, in my opinion right now would be, if you go without Erling Haaland and he does what he's capable of, you are chasing all season. And it's not that it's not recoverable, but you don't need to put yourself in that position, I don't think.
I will just finish that and say, if you go with Salah and he does what he is capable of, you're going to be chasing. If you go with go without Kane and he does what he's capable of, you're going to be chasing. This is going to be a very interesting first few weeks to see where
because
the dust settles.
we can't have them all.
No, exactly that. I think 4-5 weeks in, we'll have a feel for what's the gap between some of the pro players and league players. And
I wouldn't like ever planning a transfer for that first night, but we've all been there. I'll give you an example. I think from the first night we ever played Sky, Suj, Liverpool versus Norwich, Friday night, everyone tells us all summer, get Alisson, he's going to be phenomenal in this. Okay, we get Alisson. 15 minutes in, he does his hamstring against Norwich. The next day, everyone goes and buys Edison. But that wasn't planned, right? It's like,
no.
Well, Alisson's done his hamstring. He's not going to be back next week. Right, fix that immediately. And the tale of that is, which no one will actually believe, is Edison did keep a clean sheet the next day.
Yep.
But Alisson didn't.
No. If you're a keen Sky Fantasy Football player, then you may want to consider signing up to our Patreon. Let's give it a plug before the season starts. Patreon.com/Planet FPL. And you can come and join the Slack community. There's loads of really good, engaged managers there. You'll get access to James's Skittles multicolored spreadsheet with fixture difficulties and gaps between games, so you can see the 2-for-1s, 3-for-1s a lot easier. And on top of that, if you're an FPL player, we've got FPL prize leagues and stuff like that as well. Well worth coming along. I shouldn't make light of the additional content, should I? You get extra podcasts every single day from intermediate level above.
I mean, it's generally
the main video
thing.
Content. Yeah, it's always the last afterthought. It's like, we've got all this other stuff. Oh, by the way, there's a shitload of additional content available for you as well. Just head over to patreon.com and you'll be able to find us.
One more point, which I think is really important for Friday. I mentioned like the Saliba example from last year. For me, genuinely, and I don't think it will happen, but if Ortega is in that team, he's going in. I would consider looking at alternatives now. So what I mean by that is, I've got a little bit of doubt on John Stones. If I do go Ortega, can I look at something else from John Stones, for example, that puts perhaps Ollie Watkins back in my team at the start, right? And then that's the sort of thing I might be looking at. And I think consider that sort of thing now as well. I need to figure out, right, if Foden's in the team, am I going to punt him instead of Rodri? I don't know how sensible it is. If Alvarez is in the team, do you think, well, I'm going to punt it quick here? You can do that sort of thing. I'd be aware of that with Man City. There's an opportunity there, maybe.
Lovely jubbly. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Do share the podcast wherever you are listening on social media and what have you. Like, review, thumbs up, all of that kind of stuff. And we'll be back at you tomorrow. Stay safe. Ciao for now.
Good luck, everyone. Play it your way. Good luck. Cue music, please, man child.
Weird. Sky. There's going to be some carnage with Sky this week. I feel like there's going to be some carnage.
Can you send me a screen grab of your team, please?
Sky.
Yes.
In what state?
In the state that you said on the podcast. Actually, yeah, that is going to be too fucking awkward. No, don't do that. Don't do it.
Sure?
Yeah, we'll just say Suj is chatting nonsense.